Hello, Sandy, and hello, Clayton. It's lovely to meet you today. Thanks so much for coming on with me. Sandy, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, sure. My name is Sandy Goal. I live in London, and I'm a friend of Nicola's.
Yeah.
And by profession, what do I do? How do I earn a living? I do a few things. But my main focus is what we're going to talk about today.
Zeolites.
Yes,
zeolites. And pineal gland, and how the two connect. So we're also talking about decalcification of the pineal gland, because our pineal glands are calcified. That's right, Clayton.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can I just explain how I came across this product it's been a very, very tough year, especially for me, because in January I lost my mum very suddenly. Anyway, in February, a friend of mine, Anne Clayton, called Claire, told me about a new zeolite product which was coming out, and I wasn't in the headspace. Anyway, I said, okay, send me details on it. And then she started to invite me on calls with Clayton every Tuesday. And I didn't have a clue what Clayton was on about at the time, because he kept on saying, in order to be healthy, you need to subtract. Anyway, I was keen to get the product. I got the product, and the delivery arrived on the 7th of April, and I'll never forget that day. And I began taking immediately. I'll tell you what I noticed. I noticed better sleep, lucid dreams, my brain fog gone, physical energy up. My workouts were really, good, even though they're intense workouts. Mental energy up, and more synchronicities. Now, I didn't know what this was due to, and on a call, do you remember, Clayton? I mentioned this on a call, and he said it's because your pineal gland is being decalcified. And I had tried I didn't even know this. I didn't even know that Clean Slate could do this. And because I had tried a lot of different supplements to decalcify my pineal gland, and this was doing it for me. And it's completely transformed my life in more ways. I feel so much stronger now. I mean, obviously what's happened to me personally in the global BS, a lot of people would have crumbled. I believe Clean Slate has made me stronger than ever and more in line with what I should be doing.
I can see a difference in you as well. You seem to be, to me, much more kind of spiritually aligned to your purpose as well. And I can see that you're clear, and I can feel that you're also happier as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That for you. Yeah, fantastic. And it was your experience that then got me interested as well. So that's why we've kind of teamed up here as well to bring this out to my community and anybody else that might be, ready to hear this information as well. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No.
Brilliant. Okay. Clayton, could you now let us know something about you?
Oh, here goes the long story. So, well, the journey for me started from childhood, growing up in a veterinary practice and being around the importance of nutrition and wellness for animals and humans. But the last 15 years of my career has really been focused on environmental toxicology, with a focus in systemic detoxification. And as part of that, one of the areas that's been of great, you could say, focus, is pineal gland function, because I learned many years ago, that the calcification of the pineal gland, has effects on two different aspects. We know that pineal function is the light center of the brain, right? And being the light center has twofold. One, it can assist in turning the lights off, because the pineal gland is where melatonin is produced. And we in the United States, there's a big push now in the conversation for sleep. and you have companies that are selling pillows and companies that are selling mattresses, discussing the importance of restful sleep, because the majority of the population doesn't sleep very well. But it's not due to what you sleep on, it's due to what creates it, what creates the environment. But I think the more important aspect of the pineal gland is part that is discussed, it is researched in some aspects, but it's still a level that we don't completely understand, which is the light center of the brain being the spiritual aspect. And then you can get into, the conversations about the spiritual battles that we go through and that we're going through. And I think we're seeing a lot of that come to light because of the change in the decade. And now we're in 2020. And we're seeing a lot of these spiritual shifts, and it's having a major impact on people. And if you look back through history, if you go back to, say, the 1930s, 1940s, with some of the research that was done on fluoride and what you can do to a population and why fluoride might be used in water supplies and why it's been used in kids as mouthwash initially, it's not because it gives you strong teeth. It's because fluoride is one of the things that does a really good job of calcifying the pineal gland. And so the journey for me has been focused on not just the pineal gland, but the detoxification of everything from your head to your toes and everything in between. And, there's a natural occurring volcanic crystal and a class of minerals, crystals, and clays that have been put here to really clean up the environment. And they're called zeolites, and specifically clinoptilolite is the crystal that is known to be the most beneficial for detoxification of the environment. And it's a very unique in its structure, being a naturally three-dimensional honeycomb cage structure that's negatively charged. And it acts to grab onto and bind and trap heavy metals, fluoride, nitrosamines, glyphosate, nitrogen, ammonia, depleted uranium, viral particles, mold spores, biotoxins from bacteria, say Lyme spirochetes dumping biotoxins. It has this very unique innate ability to just grab onto the bad stuff and trap it in a cage. But what we've done is figured out how to take this natural occurring crystal, this rock, that has great benefits in your gut in a powdered form, which is where most products have been used. But we've created a multi-step process that breaks apart that cage structure into smaller fragments that still have the cage capability and still have the charge. But then we make them small enough to permeate cellular membranes, so it doesn't just stay in the gut. They can go everywhere. And then in that process, we clean out the cage structure, because the natural heavy metals and other environmental toxins and viral particles, mold spores, and everything that are found in the environment naturally over the last couple 100 million years are in those cages. So we got to get that stuff out. And then we do a couple steps to actually enhance the energetic signature and the natural negatively charged energy of those crystals, to make them, you can say, more biologically active or more energetically active in the body. And that's something that's a major differentiator, because it's never been done before. And when you do that, then you're taking what nature created as this amazing crystal. It's a crystal. We'll talk more about that, I bet. That has the ability to work systemically to grab onto and bind all the bad stuff and then just naturally flush it out. And what's interesting is, when using something like this, the body dictates how it wants to use it. So one of the things that we see quite often early is people start sleeping better. And it's because, one, you have these fragments getting into your bloodstream. And if you read about the pineal gland, one of the things that makes it unique is, as part of its function being part of the brain system, is it's on the other side of the blood-brain barrier. It's on the blood side, so it gets a massive amount of blood flow, which it's such a very, very small gland, but it gets more blood flow than any other organ in the body besides the kidneys. that should give you a clue that there's something going on there. And because there's so much blood supply going through that area, and we have the fragments getting into the bloodstream very quickly, one of the things that happens is we just decalcify that little gland really quickly, so things start to light up. And as that process takes place, we start to see some really interesting changes in people. And well, then we get people to be happy and healthy. But there's one other component that makes this unique, because the pineal gland is an endocrine gland, and serotonin actually assists in the production of melatonin. And the sibling to clean slate, which is zeolite derived, is called Zero In. We'll probably touch on this a little bit. And it's a capsule. We'll call it the gold capsule of happiness, because it feeds your gut with the specific nutrient profile it needs to produce dopamine and serotonin.
Sorry, I just had to bring this in right now because I just shuffled, and you talk about the golden capsule of happiness.
So,
yeah, that just couldn't be better. Sorry.
The cards don't lie.
They never do, and I've just got it already shuffled. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that was just the perfect moment I had to.
Yeah, and this is the fun part of just understanding energetically. We're all connected, you know, and spiritually, energetically, it's the real goal and the focus is getting us better connected within our. So we resonate higher and we function higher.
Back to God, isn't it? Back to source energy and connecting in with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I love the way you talk about it being the light center. So, because I know before we started, I pulled the Hermit. Do you remember? And we had a look at that card, so we can see. So the pineal gland, when it's calcified, and if I'm wrong, please do correct me, would be dark, right? And then we're bringing that light with the zeolite to it, and then it lights up.
Yep. And it's also, when you look at the darkness aspect, it's like pulling a shade, or a cover over a light bulb or over the sun, right? And as you remove the veil, you could look at it like from the Wizard of Oz as well, of what happens when you open up the blinds and you let the light come in. You go, oh, well, this is a different perspective. And I think that's one of the things that we're seeing is you hear the conversation today about people becoming awake or woke, that it's a matter of just removing the veil. And the more light that comes in, the more people can see, right? Because we're not made to see in the dark, but there are powers that be that want to keep us in the dark. So we follow, because if you're in the dark, you're usually holding someone's hand and you get led. But if there's light, you can look around, you can see what's going on. You're like, wait a minute, this is not what I want to do. So I think we're starting to see a lot of that, but it's choice. This is the beautiful part, right? That we were given free will. And because of what we're able to do now, with Clean Slate, with Zero In, and our philosophy with Root, is people have the choice. Do you want to actively work to clean yourself up? Do you want to be healthier? Do you want to be, happy? Because happiness is a biochemical response. It's dopamine and serotonin, and who doesn't want that? We all crave it, but we don't know how to get it. So now here you go. It's your choice now. And then
you think then that some of those powers that be would want us unhappy?
Oh yeah, because if you have fear based, and if people live in fear and they're not functional and they're not happy, they're not creative. Yeah. And if they're not creative, then they're not looking at solutions, and
they're submissive,
compliant.
And they're submissive and easier to control.
Yes.
So docile and controllable, as they say.
Yes. Does it take long to calcify?
It's an interesting question, because we we field a lot of questions about, how long is it going to take me to feel better? Because everybody wants to know, well, how quickly can it work? And the simple answer is, I don't know. Because each one of us, even when you look at the three of us, right, we all suffer from the same condition. We're all human. Mm-hmm. We're all provided the same absolute. We're going to die. We know that. Everything else in between, some say there is some determination, but I mean, it's up to us, to really dictate how that's going to go. And each one of us is biologically unique, right? And we are exposed to heavy metals and environmental pollutants and all these toxins from conception, right? So even in the same household, if we have siblings, like I have my brother and my sister, but each one of us is biologically unique because of what was in my mom at the time I was conceived, what was in the environment, what I was exposed to from the time I was born, from breast milk, and then from food, from air, from water. We can get into vaccinosis issues and then exposure every day going forward. So each one of us is special and unique. And we might even be exposed to the same toxins, the same chemicals, the same pollutants, maybe in the same amount, but they're going to affect us each differently because of where they're stored, how they're sequestered, and how they affect our bodies and how they affect our systems. So even in the process of removing them, there is no specific timing, specific way to say, okay, for you, this is what you're going to experience, right? We can look at a load of experiences, and that's why we love having our groups to where people can share their personal experiences and people can start to see, okay, Sandy saw this, and Gail saw this, and Dory saw this, and Tim saw this, and Steve saw that. And we start to compile all that so people can see, okay, this isn't just about this one thing. We see different components, different things that can happen, but everybody's variable. But what we do see and what we know is that the first time you take your drops, that process starts, and it's absolute. And this is what makes this unique over other products is if we look at other nutritional supplements or foods, the benefit of those is predicated on your ability to assimilate what you're putting in, right? That's why we hear that nutritional supplements don't work. And that's partially true, but it's not that the supplements don't work. It's that we don't work. Mm-hmm. Our bodies can't use what we're getting, or it doesn't function properly. But what makes Clean Slate unique and what makes Clinoptilolite just environmentally unique is it's like a rare earth magnet. And if you take a rare earth magnet and you put it next to other metals, there's an absolute that happens. They go because they're drawn to it. You can't change that. It doesn't matter what environment you put it in. You can put it in water. You could put it in fire. You could put it in, freezing cold environments. It's going to do the same thing. So what makes this product really special and unique is no matter what environment you're putting it into, every person, it's going to do what it does. But it's the process it takes. So some people, we hear responses of, in an hour, I can feel changes, or I'm having experiences, or I can taste stuff in my mouth. Some people, it's a couple days. Some people, it's a week. But the really fun part comes in because true systemic detoxification is not something that's done quickly, right? This isn't a 7-day cleanse. It's not a 30-day cleanse. It's not a 90-day cleanse. Ideally, this is something from womb to tomb. But you'll see phases and layers over time that, 3 months from now, your body might start cleaning some stuff out. You'll have a different experience. You go, whoa, this is unique because of just the process of going through these layers. But from most aspects, people will have experiences or they'll notice stuff in the first few days, or you can say the first week for sure, mm-hmm. that you have some semblance of an idea of, wow, there's some stuff changing. Mm-hmm. But everybody's unique and different to that.
Yeah. And it depends as well on the environment that people are living in as well. So if somebody like me, for example, has very heavily chemtrailed skies, it could be more difficult for me than somebody who has more clear blue skies, for example. Would that be right?
May not be as difficult, but the process and the experience will be different.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what's key, and it's a matter of looking at what's coming out. Right. And that's the key, whether it's through urine, whether it's through sweat, whether it's through stool and such, that you'll see different things happening. And the one thing I try to tell people is it's so important to journal or to track, not only the physical aspects, but like we're talking about the spiritual, the emotional, to see how your body is shifting, how your mind is shifting, and then when we add in zero in into that, and you can control and dictate neurotransmitter levels, say, okay, I want to feel really, really good right now, and I want to function really well. Great, I'm gonna boost my dopamine and serotonin levels up a little bit.
Can I just add? So I've been taking zero in for a couple of months now. I take one tablet, one capsule a day, and it's really boosted my workouts actually. And it's just like we're in the middle of a storm right now, and I feel calm. And one thing I'll say about zero in and clean slate is since taking these products, things don't trigger me as much as they used to. And that seems to be a universal thing. Clayton, are you finding that as well?
No, we see that across the board. And, and it goes twofold, right? Because one, neurotoxicology, we look at mercury, it's the worst neurotoxin known to man. And, if you remember Alice in Wonderland, you had the Mad Hatter, right? And he was a little chaotic. Well, the Hatters back in the 1200s, 1300s, 1400s, 1500s, they cured the felt hats in mercury. That's why they went mad. That's why the terminology is there. And mercury creates craziness and it creates disruption. And, so it creates some instability in people. And there's a lot of it in this world. But also, as you're talking about, to improve dopamine and serotonin levels, they just allow you to focus. They allow you to relax. You feel good. So I've had friends tell me that with all this quarantine crisis that we had initially, and having teenagers at home constantly, not something we're made for.
And not for the teenagers either. I'll have to put that in.
Yeah, no, and it goes both ways. But I had some friends like, man, I was taking a capsule or two of this stuff, and I've never seen myself have my kids do something and go, okay, all right, we'll deal with it. And I go, that's not me. Like usually I'd snap. Like that's a different response.
Yeah.
And so it just allows us to become more centered, more calm, and relaxed and happy.
Can I just give a couple of cards here at this moment? Because I pulled these a few minutes ago. So
Absolutely.
This is before. Now I'm just going to show you the images. You can see the head. You can see the stress on this person. All right. Here comes the zeolites to the rescue. I always do that when I get the horses. And then it creates a brand new beginning for this person. It brings the light in, right? And I'm literally taking my cards from the top of the deck. They're just here. And that's what I got.
Okay.
So that the Fool is the new beginning.
I thought the Fool was me, so that's good.
Well,
Usually that's my title.
And then we have the Page again as well. So he's much more structured. He's standing upright. He's happier. He's peaceful and calmer. So he's kind of gone from this, right, to this. And he's now turned his back on this way of being. And he's got a happier, brighter future. This is beautiful because this is the light. So I'm just imagining that it must feel like sunshine in the cells when this is, introduced.
It's actually a really good way of looking at it because we've done some dark field microscopy of looking at how cells function, but also what the fragments look like under a dark field microscope, and they actually glow blue and green.
Ooh, beautiful.
So the ideal aura colors that we want for balance, the blues and the greens. I mean, they're naturally just projecting that energy. So it makes it really unique.
Yeah.
Where else do you want to go?
Yeah, do you want to bring anything in now, Sandy? As well, if you like, so we can share.
Yeah, sure. So I'm noticing more synchronicities, Clayton. Life seems to be more effortless for me. I don't know if it's across the board for other people taking it. Maybe you can comment on that in a minute. But is this, obviously the pineal gland is being decalcified, but also is more light being emitted from our cells and our bodies, and that's attracting more. Would you say?
Well, and it goes to the much larger aspect, right? Because if we look at the pineal gland, that being the light center of the brain, but we're not just focused on that little gland. We're going from head to toes for cleaning stuff up. So if we know we're going to take that little gland and it's going to start to light up, your cells are going to do the same thing as we start to clean them up, because we're removing the veil just layer by layer from every cell in your body.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part to really get into over time. And we're seeing this when you look at some of the groups. If you get into the Root Your Life group or some of the other groups that we have for Root in different countries, and you're seeing experiences from people, of what their initial experience was in their first couple of weeks or so. And then over time, we're continually seeing additional changes. And you're hearing from people that have had issues for the last 30 years that are now no longer there. Some things were medicated, that there's no reason to need for medication anymore. And, things are better controlled now without meds than they were ever on medication for the last 30 years. But activities, lifestyles, they become more fun, and exercise becomes fun. And doing some of the things throughout the day that maybe you'd look at and go, you know what, these are not the things I like doing, but they become manageable and they become processable, and the things you really like doing become amazing, and the things that you need to get done quickly. Mm-hmm. And I honestly believe, in my opinion, with where we are spiritually in human history, with where we're going, we're at a point now in society where we've never been more polluted. I mean, we see that in our kids. I mean, the rates of autism, the rates of cancer. I mean, when I was growing up, cancer was a stigma. If you were diagnosed with cancer, you were ostracized because people were concerned that you were contagious. And now, if you have cancer, you're like, oh, happy times for you. You're just 1 out of 2. And it's just become accepted. And we're not made that way. We're not made to be sick. We're not made to be tired. We're made to be this big ball of light that is able to create. We're able to regenerate. We're able to just be amazing. But the lights haven't been turned off, but they've been turned down really, really low. And we just want to just slowly over time turn that light back up. And you go, wow, the room is kind of nice when it's bright in here. Kind of like it. It's like, wait a minute, there's other people here that are like me that are kind of cool, and we can have fun. And that's really the goal and the purpose.
Just imagining our potential as a collective as well. If we were all like decalcified and we had the sunlight and the environment wasn't polluted and stuff. We were all getting our sleep and things.
You look at the importance of community, right? And what we talk about today, and the importance of diversity. And we don't have that in the United States. I think because of, we'll say, and it's November's coming here, so we have our election, and we get to wonder why there's chaos going on this year. I don't know if there's a correlation. Who knew? But you have influences on a population of people that try to create chaos, right? And they're doing a really good job of it right now, because people are so polluted and toxic that they're easily influenced. But if you remove the blockages and people begin to realize that, look, like we were going over, we're all human. We all suffer from the same condition. But if you look back, through some of the ancient societies and how they function, and the amazing populations that were there before us, allegedly without the technology that we have, that we are in a very, very unique opportunity to bring people back together, to create this sense of community, to create healthy, happy people that will start to see changes, and we'll watch that grow, and that's really the foundation and goal of why we created Root, was to create this community of like-minded people all over the world that can start, collaborating. They start feeling better. They start functioning better. We'll start to see changes. I mean, because you start small. You start with a couple people, and you start with 5,000 people, and it comes 50,000 people, and 500,000 people, and then 5 million people, and you start looking at influence. You go, okay, you got a couple million people that are all doing the same thing, and people start paying attention, and that's it. And it's not something that's done quickly, right? You don't want it to be done quickly. It's something that is best done organically, and watch it grow. And Sandy's been such a phenomenal example of that, because like he's talked about his experience and, what was going on in his life, and then how a friend of his said, hey, you know what, you might like this, you might pay attention to it. And as that process took place, the changes that happened for him, the changes that happened in his family. But then because of those changes, he's reached out to people close to him and say, hey, you know what? I know you're like me. You might want to have these same experiences. So let me share with you, and you watch how that grows. Mm-hmm. And that's really the process.
Little ritual, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's fun. Yeah. And we just get to say, okay, watch what happens. And we get to share victories and thrive is the word that keeps coming into my mind. So people are thriving, and you can see that in that full card as well. It's just so much light and happiness and lightness in his steps. So it's just, so a great new beginning for people that take it. Yeah,
use it.
Very much so.
Absolutely. So what would you think are the biggest factors that we have in our environment that cause the decalcification, or the calcification, of the gland?
Well, one of the biggest ones is fluoride, right? And like I was mentioning initially, I'll say the Germans, or we'll say the Nazis, because they were really, really good at research to do some really bad things, and they worked on mind control, and which led to MK Ultra and, a bunch of other stuff, but when they were looking at population control, because there were specific populations of people that were dissident in their mindset, or that they didn't want to have influence or power. And the best way to influence the population has been proven throughout history, right? It's the water supply and food supply. If you can control that, then you can control a population, and you can slip a couple things in here. And you might be able to do it under the guise of saying, oh, we're trying to make sure we have clean water, because we know the one thing that every population wants and needs is clean water. So it's not something that's ever questioned. And if they don't understand the science of what you're doing, or maybe you just don't even tell them, you go, oh, so we have to look back at what was done in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s and such. And the use of fluoride in the water supply. There's really no need for it. But why was it done? Because fluoride's proven to calcify the pineal gland, and it can decrease IQ. It can slow people down a little bit. They'd done a lot of research on that. And, when the U.S. liberated the concentration camps and we got all of that data, the U.S. government didn't say, oh, you guys were doing bad things with this, we're going to throw it away and it's never going to be used again. They said, no, come to our party. We'll bring you all over here. You guys are really good at doing some research that we weren't able to do, but we kind of like it. Mm-hmm. I think we have some stuff we can use that for. And, so we've seen these different things from environmental exposure over time. We know that fluoride's bad. Glyphosate, as an example, with its introduction in 1974, I haven't drawn any conclusions to this yet and haven't looked up a lot of the research, but glyphosate being water soluble. People thought
it's a pesticide, isn't it?
Yeah.
Glyphosate? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Roundup. And, I would say there's probably some effects that glyphosate has on pineal function as well. But the big one revolves around fluoride, because that is what is shown to create that calcification around the pineal gland.
Is fluoride a heavy metal, Clayton?
It is similar, and it is something that can be removed with clinoptilolite.
Okay,
so why it happens so quickly.
So the cages
and ammonia. Yeah.
So the cages remove the fluoride, or is it the aluminium which traps the fluoride in?
The cages and the bind. So the interesting aspect of clinoptilolite is we're familiar with the cage structure, right? But it's this porous structure that has cages, but also has binding sites on the outside. So it can absorb AB in the cages, but it also has binding sites on the outside. So it can trap ions on it, just connecting to the outside. So they'll scavenge and they'll pull off little bits and pieces. They'll just pull off a couple fluoride ions, off of that calcification. And you have millions of those little guys doing that. They just pick it all apart and clean it off. So there's the aspect of cleaning up the blood supply, that as you remove some of the metals and toxins and you start to tweak the pH just a little bit in the bloodstream so it becomes just properly alkaline, that calcification, because of the amount of blood flow going to the pineal gland, is start to erode away as well. So I think there's multiple aspects to it, and it's not anything that we have as an absolute yet to say, okay, this is the reason why, this is the exact science behind it, because we're not doing necropsies, and it's really, we're not doing true analysis to look at something, take someone's pineal gland out and go, okay, let's look at how this has been affected and what it does, because most people are reluctant to do that while they're alive, and when they're dead, it's past the point of really looking at the benefits. And so we have to look at what's going on in life, in real life case studies. But when you look at the pineal gland in general, it's an area of study that hasn't really thoroughly been understood, right? I mean, we know what it does for melatonin. There's, was it Rene Descartes? I was looking at some stuff before we started on this, that, his theory of being in the light center of the brain from a spiritual standpoint was something that's been argued, but it's philosophical, but it's hard to prove. Yeah. So it was Descartes back in the 17th century, that brought up some of the ideas. And so you have so many aspects of theory, right? In every aspect, especially when it comes to energy and our spirituality and how we function. We're not even close to understanding what we're truly capable of doing. But what we have to do first in order to really start understanding our capability is provide ourselves the ability to become what we're capable of. And we can't do that if we're a cesspool, right? You gotta clean stuff up.
Absolutely.
And once we start doing that, then we're going to start to see this ascension, and we'll see it on an individual basis. And then the fun part is as people in the community see some of those people start to light up, they go, wait a minute, you're different. Something's different about you.
Yeah. And people are saying that about me.
I want whatever you're doing. All right. And it's not a matter of, going out and telling people I'm doing this and you should do it with me. Because one of the things that I learned years and years ago, and I think it applies in many aspects of life, and John the Baptist and other people kind of proved this, that if you stand up on a pulpit and you start preaching, people will run from you by the droves because they don't want to hear it. But they will come from miles around to watch you burn. And the nice part is, theoretically, what we're doing is we're lighting a really cool fire on the inside. And that, it's kind of like the Hunger Games, right? They talk about the phoenix coming out. And that's really what's happening is we've got the kindling in there. And there might be, some amber somewhere where there's a chance to light some stuff up. But you got to remove all the junk that's inhibiting that. And once you remove that, that fire starts to light and smolder and grow, and it starts to show on the outside. And then people are like, wait a minute, you're different. I think I like that.
What are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, whatever that is, how do I get that? Like, well, what are you talking about? So like, whatever you're doing. And a lot of times, the beauty part of what we're doing is people themselves, as they're using it, they don't know. They don't notice. Because a lot of the changes in how the body functions, it's not paying attention, you don't know. But other people go, wait a minute, you're different. I mean, we saw a testimonial that was posted in the group the other day, a woman that has really, really bad eczema. And she's been using Clean Slate for since August 1st, and it was on the 19th that she posted this. So it's been 19 days. And she posted 2 pictures side by side. She said, well, I don't know if I'm having any changes yet. But the one picture, her leg looks like it has scales. It's so cracked and inflamed and nasty. The other photo, everything is smooth. It's still red and still a little bit inflamed, but you can see it looks healthy and it looks better. She's like, I don't know if anything's changing yet. And there were a bunch of comments like, are you serious? We see a difference, but in our own minds, when we're looking at stuff, we're like, I don't see anything changing. And everyone else is going, hello? Obviously, things are different here. And that helps each of us realize, oh, you know what? I'm doing this because like we mentioned, it's the butterfly effect. I mean, we've all been in a chrysalis, right? We're in our little cocoon. But as we start to break out of that cocoon and we realize that, look, we're not just a worm anymore. We have wings. And wow, we might have different colors. And we can walk around like a peacock, and have hair like a peacock. You never know. So makes it kind of fun.
Yeah. Would this be a good time to share some testimonials?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right.
You do it now.
Yeah, we're back on.
You can record it, right?
Yep, it's recording now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can look at, this is the fun part as we were talking about. You get experiences. So, this is you can see Ravina's experience from August 1st to the 19th of August. This is her before, and where we were talking about really scaly skin. Apparently she's had psoriasis for a long time, and this is after a couple weeks. She couldn't see a difference, but I think you can notice that there's some changes taking place there.
Yeah, it's smoother, isn't it? Much smoother.
Much smoother.
It has a glow to it as well.
Absolutely, because you can see the rest of her skin and how things are changing. And this is only in a couple weeks of use. So,
and how many drops was she taking a day, Clayton?
I think she's doing 10. She might be doing 10 by 2.
Yeah, she's doing 10 by 2. Yeah, she's my friend, by the way. Yeah,
so Sandy's going to claim responsibility for a lot of these because he's been helping a lot of people.
Oh, Sandy is very helpful. It's great.
So this is one that's good. I've got a couple people that have talked about. So if we look at high blood pressure and cardiovascular disease, and we know that cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, blood pressure are some of the big 5 when it comes to primary killers of the population. But what's really unique is what all the scientific data shows from large population studies is that heavy metals are the primary cause of those issues. And this is one thing that we'll look at. So you'll see a couple instances, but this is something that we've seen a lot of over the last couple months of high blood pressure. And Kristen is actually a close friend of mine here now. Her husband that she's talking about played in the NFL for 14 years as a left tackle for not the good football, but the American football. And I'm an Arsenal fan, so for you guys over.
I didn't know that.
Don't think less of me, even though Arsenal's been terrible the last few years. Yeah, but I mean, you can see for him, he's been on medication for a long time to control his blood pressure. He had stage 2 high blood pressure in 2019, and it's been a couple months now, and he's now averaging around 140 over 80 to 90, and he's no longer taking medication. Blood pressure is just controlled. Why is that? Because, well, we've removed the cause. And here's Mark. This is one that goes over some of the skin issues, that he has medically diagnosed as medium aggressive psoriasis, mainly on his legs, and, had a little cellulitis. And some of these are kind of rough to look at. I mean, these are kind of painful. And what's really important to understand with skin conditions like psoriasis and eczema and such, you can see, I think there's changes happening.
That was after 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, this is after 3 weeks.
So it goes to work very quickly. And did he make changes to his diet as well? Do you know, or did he just carry on?
No, and that's actually a really important question, because one of the things that we see is not changes, right? You look at those and you go, wow, before, nasty, middle, better, after.
It must have really hurt him to walk as well.
It's probably not friendly when you look at it.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? I would choose not to have that happen to me. And the important part of that, I mean, look at that. That's not something that you want on your leg. It does not.
You won't be able to wear.
It just hurts to look at.
Yeah, even your trousers would rub against.
Yeah, I was going to say trousers. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
And
wow, complete difference. It's incredible.
And the fun part is these issues start in your liver.
Yeah.
Because what research shows is that psoriasis, eczema, and other skin conditions, because your skin is your largest organ and it's one of your primary detoxification pathways. But it is it's liver toxicity with other viruses in your liver that create a lot of these skin conditions. So if you're able to get into your system and start to clean that stuff out, it's going to start to show in other areas, right? So this gives you an idea of the light coming out, right? As we start on the inside and that light starts to come out. And, you know, what do we talk about the sun doing with clouds? It causes the burn off of all of the clouds and everything else. Gives you an idea. Let me see here. So let me find another cool one here. Oh, there's this guy. This Sandy guy. He's always talking about his experiences.
Your dad had a good experience. Do you want to mention that, Sandy? What happened with him?
Yeah, so I noticed that his urine was very cloudy in January. And then, you know, we lost Mum. So obviously I was very concerned. And got the clean slate on the 7th of April. And I have to talk a bit quietly because he's, you know, next door. But he's a retired doctor. And he doesn't believe in supplements or, you know, natural medicine, really. Anyway, so I started slipping it in his tea, like 10 drops a day, 5 drops twice a day. And over the weeks, I noticed that his pee got less cloudy. And this week, I noticed that it's completely clear. On top of that, he's lost weight as well. And his emotional more stable as well. He's more calm than he used to be. So, yeah, incredible.
And has his kind of mood changed as well? Have you noticed?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But the, you know, the cloudy pee did, and we don't know what the cause was, and I didn't ask him. And I just can't believe it's now completely clear after 4 months.
And that's the important part, is the process, right? This isn't something that is overnight, right? It's not immediate. It's not a miracle. It's a process. And it's like, you know, as we touch on, you know, when we talk about kids being completely polluted, you know, the kids in the spectrum are a big one. You know, this, like from Margaret, I forgot what country she's in, but you look at a 21-year-old autistic daughter, and that, you know, 6 days. Notice 1 drop, morning and evening. 1.
Wow.
You know, that she's seen, you know, hyperactivity. There's no more tantrums. She's not aggressive. She's not fighting. She's not biting. You know, less, you know, sound sensitivity. You go, okay, those are changes.
That's incredible. I bet she sleeps better too.
Yeah.
I'm the mum. She probably sleeps better as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that picture with all the stars.
And that's basically inside us too. It is. Yeah. We just have to turn the lights up.
Aww.
Yeah, you can see Robert's. He dropped 6 pounds in his first week. Blood pressure went from 135 over 95, from being a bit higher, and that's only in a couple weeks. And you start to see changes across the board. There's a bunch of these. Let me see if I can find one more good one here.
I've got another one this week, guys. So a friend of a friend, diabetic neuropathy in his feet was causing him a lot of pain. And this was diagnosed in February. Got on the clean slate after 2 weeks, no real change. And then 3 weeks later, he messages me saying the pain has decreased. He's absolutely delighted.
And it's important to understand with like neuropathy and neuropathic pain that research shows the primary cause of peripheral neuropathy issues, mercury, because they damage neurons and such. So we know that they're neurotoxic and they do that damage in the brain. They do the same thing at the tips of the body, your fingertips, your feet, where those neurons end, and they block their ability to fire and communicate, so they become numb, and you have neuropathy, or you have that fire feeling, the tingling feeling, the pain and such, and you can clean those up. So here's another one. This is kind of cool one, because I love the kid stories, right? Not like we're dealing with Jeffrey Epstein kind of stuff, but good stories about kids. And you have 2 drops a day for the past few days with a 13-year-old. And this speaks to the importance of the ability. You can titrate however you want your dosage, right? We know that 10 drops in the morning, 10 drops at night is insanely effective and beneficial, and that's kind of what we recommend. But, you can start as low as you want and then build up to that. And even on a budget standpoint, we have in some groups in some Eastern European countries where, their monetary system isn't as strong as the United States. And as means of making sure that products are affordable over an extended period of time, they only use 2, 3, 4, 5 drops twice a day. So they can stretch a bottle out from a month to maybe 2 or 3 months, or a bottle can take care of a family. And, watching those changes, as you see with 2 drops a day, really significant changes. As you're seeing behavioral changes in kids, you see changes in adults. And so like Clara, I forgot how long this took her. Let me see here. I think it was a few weeks, end of March, and this is July. So March, April, May, June, July. So 3.5 months or so. And she dropped 20 pounds, but you look at the reconfiguration and you look at her skin and the difference is she didn't change her lifestyle. She didn't change anything else, but she did start feeling better. And then she started to go for walks and go do some stuff. So it's the important part of, you're not forcing the body to do anything. You're actually giving the body the ability to go, wait a minute, I want to do some stuff.
Yeah.
So,
can you give it to pets as well?
Absolutely. And I would argue that it is as or more important to give to your pets, because they live in the same environment, but they're smaller than we are.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a veterinary practice. And, as I mentioned, I've been doing this for about 15 years. And my parents have actually been doing this along with me, using different formulas that we've created or used over the years. And they've been able to do some really cool stuff with animals. And one of the interesting components is how pets respond. And because they're very, very energy sensitive, right? They're very spiritual. And they sense energy. And my mom and my dad had a client. They had a cat that had a chest tumor years and years ago. Done to 3 other veterinarians, and they drained the fluid out of the cat's chest. And fluid kept coming back after a week. If the cat's chest would just fill up with fluid again, and then have to go in and drain it. And because the doctors told the owners, like, look, we can't get the tumor. It's too big. It's in the cat's chest. He's going to die. So just try to do what you can. And he's like, no, that's not what I want to do. So he ended up getting a referral to go see my parents, because my parents are much more integrative in their veterinary practice. They do acupuncture and essential oils and herbs and lots of fun stuff, and lasers and zeolites and essential oils and lots of little crazy fun stuff. So they went to see my parents. My mom and dad were like, okay, well, we'll drain the fluid and then let's try some stuff. So he got a bottle of drops to take home, and he gave the cat 5 drops in the morning, 5 drops at night. on his food. And he was an outdoor cat. It was like 13-year-old outdoor kitty. And so he'd get his drops on his food. And after, I think it was a couple weeks, the fluid in the cat's chest didn't return and the tumor was gone. And he's like, okay, well, that's pretty unique. And the cat started acting like he was 2 and 3 again. He was catching birds and hunting outside and doing all the things that younger cats do. There was one point, it was about a month and a half in, because they had their routine down. The cat would come to the door in the morning, he'd get his food, he'd eat, and he'd go back out and do his thing. So put the food out one morning, and the cat came to the door and looked at the food, looked at him, looked at the food, looked at him, just stared at him like, and he thought, I put the drops on there. So he grabbed the bottle off the counter. And
he'd forgotten, and the cat knew.
Put the drops on the food. The cat looked at him, started eating. He's like,
brilliant.
All right, I know. And yeah, so we've seen on animals how important it is. And, you know, the environmental exposure in animals has been shown to be about 7 to 10 times greater than humans. And if you think about it, they're exposed to the same environment. You know, they're if they're in the house with us, they're on the carpet. They're closer to it. So as all the fire retardants and chemicals and are off gassing, it's getting into them. They're vaccinated with different stuff. Their food. I mean, really, when you look at it, if you really got into the labels of what you're feeding your animals, if you're not feeding them raw, you're putting a lot of trash in them, and they're not very big, right? So that compounds really quickly. So you've got to get that stuff out. But one of the things that's been really intriguing, and I'll explain why this happens with clinoptilolite. But my dad, being the veterinarian, he had malignant melanoma about 15 years ago. And he had about 8 tumor sites on his back that he was just having cut off. Because my dad's a doctor. He's like, if it'll kill me, it'll kill me. And kind of pissed my mom off, because my mom's looking at this going, this isn't topical. Right? Melanoma is not a topical issue. It's a systemic issue that shows topically, and it's bad because it's systemic and it's coming out of you, and it'll kill you. And when I first started doing this like 15 years ago, the first product I was working with, I really got into some of the science on clinoptilolite. And there's some really good published literature out of Croatia that they were using a powder in liquid, which was how this first started. And they were injecting it into tumors in rats and dogs and watching what happened. And what they found is that this crystal, for some reason, was reactivating tumor suppressor genes. So our genes, we have P21, P27, and P53, which are part of our DNA. That when a cell becomes abnormal, those genes turn on that cause abnormal cells to just die. They break apart, they melt, and they get flushed out. Apoptosis, right? It's programmed cell death. That's how our immune system gets rid of cancer. Wait a minute. Rewind that for a second. Our immune system can get rid of cancer. We don't need a cure. We just need our body to work properly. And so I had called my dad, and I'm like, Pops, I want you to try this. He's like, you're my son. You're an idiot. Told you not to become a doctor. I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm like, well, you're my dad. I love you. I don't want you to die. So do it for me. I've never asked you to do anything. I want you to try this for me. Here's some of the literature so we can support this scientifically, but I want you to do it orally, and I want you to do it topically. Just do it for me. Just for no other reason. He's like, okay, fine. So after about 45 days or so, my dad called me, and he's like, got something to tell you. I'm like, what's that? He's like, you saved your paw. I'm like, I'm still in the will? I'm like, yep. He's like, all of the spots, they all fell off, and there was fresh skin that grew in underneath them all. And it's been 15 years. My dad's never had a recurrence.
Perfect.
And, so you look at those things and you go, well, the things that we fear the most are environmental in nature, right? I mean, we know that cancer is caused by environmental toxins. It's published, it's proven, everybody knows it, but we all fear the diagnosis, like, oh my God, you have cancer, you're going to die. No, you're not. Just fix your body. This is what we're made to do. We're made to heal. We're made to regenerate. We're made to be dynamic, but if we're a cesspool, and if you have a pool at home, or you go to a city pool, or you go swim somewhere, or you go to the lake, and it's filthy and nasty and dirty and full of bacteria and stuff, you don't want to swim in that pool. You got to clean it out. And then it looks great. And then you can swim in it. You can use it. Our body's no different. We're a beautiful cesspool. We do so much to try to look good on the outside, but on the inside, we are a freaking mess. And if we can clean that up, then everything else on the outside starts to look good too. And that's the game we play, and it starts with that little thing in your brain that things light up and you go, oh, wow, I feel good. I can start to function better.
Even on a chemtrail sky day, I've got a little bit of sunshine coming through today. It's very rare. So for someone like me, for instance, who lives in a very heavily chemtrails environment, I get the sun just a few times a year, literally.
Yes.
Will I feel happier as a result of taking this and less bothered by these chemtrails, because they do bother me a lot?
You tell me.
I hope so, but I haven't tried to prod that yet. So
I know that's the point.
So that's going to be part of my my thing as well, to find out how that affects me then, because I've got one coming. So that would be quite interesting. I can imagine this and the sunshine together would be a very beautiful kind of combination.
And being able to get outside and enjoy the weather and enjoy the environment and be more connected to it, because the cleaner our body is, the more resonant we are with our environment. So whether you're grounding and you're outside barefoot and you're getting your feet in the dirt, and maybe you're getting your feet in the water and on the sand, and then being exposed to more sun, because we know, and we hear so many conversations about the importance of vitamin D, but it's our skin that produces vitamin D if we're in the sun. But if you're toxic, that process doesn't take place. So everything comes back to just creating that proper environment. And if you do that, things are better. And then you start tweaking your biology a little bit, and you throw in a couple of gold capsules of happiness, and you get a little more dopamine and serotonin, and then going outside is like, hey, it's great. I love this. I'm going to go for a run. And that's one of the funny things. So I hear from many people, the first time they take, their zero in, or the first couple times, like, man, I want to go exercise. I never want to do that. Like, they feel good. Their body's like, hey, let's go have some fun. Let's go get some stuff done. So it'll be fun. It's a journey.
Clayton, can I ask, I get a lot of people say to me, oh yeah, I take zeolites. I take, powdered zeolite or other liquid zeolites. How does Clean Slate compare to those other zeolite products?
The simple answer is it doesn't. And the simple way to respond to that, without getting into the science, and I'll hit on that, is outcomes. Because honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, what you do. Everything that we do is predicated on outcomes, whether it's healthcare, whether it's business, whether it's marketing, whatever. It could be comedy. Everything's predicated on outcomes. So, but that aside, because you can get into some of the groups like we were looking at, responses and how people have had their own personal experiences. It's those outcomes that set this apart, because you don't see these kind of outcomes with other products.
No, you don't.
Trust me.
Yeah.
I've been in the space. I've been around zeolite products for 15 years. I've distributed, created, consulted, formulated, manufactured many of them that are in the market, many that are being sold today. I just don't talk about them. I don't talk about my experiences because we talk about where we are. I don't care about where I came from and what I've done. People don't care about the journey. They care about the outcome. right? So one, it's results, but two, it's science. And what really separates Clean Slate from the rest of the space is a couple things. One, process. So what we do to create these fragments is different. And you'll hear people talk about nanoparticles. Well, you don't want clinoptilolite to be nano. You don't. It's too small, because you need the cage structure. And if you look at some of the companies that are actually claiming to have those liquids that are nano, and I won't drop names because I don't want to be mean, but if you look at the science that they claim, if you really know science, and if you do a little bit of research, you go, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Yeah, okay, so those are out. And if you look at the labels on most of the products, they're not formulated properly. And they're not preserved properly. They're not labeled properly. So you go, huh, that's a problem. But it's a couple steps beyond what we do to just create the fragments that makes this unique. The second part is the concentration. And we've made the concentration in Clean Slate at least 25% stronger than the other products that have been in the market. So they're stronger in concentration. And the third is one little thing that we do at the end to enhance the natural energetic signature of the crystals. It's never been done before. We don't talk about it much because I don't want people to know we do it. And I think that one little thing makes the biggest difference. And because you've got this natural crystal, and we know that crystals resonate really uniquely with the human body, right? We know that Superman went into the Hall of Crystals and they helped recharge him. There's some science to that. So if you can take nature's most powerful crystal, which clinoptilolite has been proven to be, and you can enhance it energetically, but then make it small enough to go throughout your entire body, some cool things happen. Hence the outcomes. So it's one that, you know, people want to, say, oh, well, mine's better. Great. Show me the data. We have it. We have a lot of it, and there's a lot more coming that's going to be posted, so we can see a lot of that. But that's the big part. It's like, you know what? If you want to know what makes it different, look and listen. Look at what people are saying. Listen to what they're saying. You don't see these kind of experiences with other products. And the powdered clinoptilolite, if you have a good source, it's great in the gut, and it's really beneficial. The part that is a little disconcerting to me when you look at the powders is you have companies that are selling a 1 pound tub or a 2 pound tub of clinoptilolite powder for like $50. That's absurd. Something that costs maybe $1, you sell it for $50, and you're not really doing anything to it. Now, granted, we take that powder and we have a very specific source. We have the best source for clinoptilolite probably in the world, and it's 97% pure clinoptilolite and 3% bentonite. So it's extremely pure. And we take that, what most people would take and just put in a tub and sell it. That's what our raw is. That's what we process. And that's what really separates this, is we use the highest quality raw ingredient that no one else can get their hands on right now. And then we're taking it and we're actually doing something with it. And we actually know what we're doing with it. And when we talk about imagery, if we look at scanning electron microscope images and we look at particle size analysis, we're looking at legitimate science. And we show it. I mean, it's in the groups. And we're going to have it on the new website here next week.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. You're a wealth of information, and it was really great to talk to you. And thank you, Sandy, as well. Is there anything else you just want to add before we finish?
Well, where can people get it? Where can people get it?
Well, I'm going to put a link in the group, in the description box, of course. So I'll put a link to the website. I'll put a link to the Facebook group as well.
Yeah, and have people throw your questions in the Facebook groups, because the community does a really good job of, answering some of those questions. And the one thing I'll tell you is just try it. And I think the important part is you become a customer for free. And so it doesn't cost you anything to become a customer. And the one cool thing, because we wanted to build a sense of community, right? And in a community, it's important to value everyone in the community, right? Because that's what we want out of life. We all want to be valued, right? We want to be part of something when we want to know that, one, we're creating value, but also to understand that we are recognized for the value that we're creating. Napoleon, made the comment years ago, that you give me a bunch of ribbon and scrap metal, I'll take over the world. Because, he knows how people work for recognition, that they just want to be recognized. And when we created Root, we wanted to create, a community model, but as means of understanding who creates the value, for our community, because our true value is created from our community members, right? Because it's everybody that's experiencing the products that shares with their friends that create the value. It's our job to serve that. So we reward it. And if you share with your friends, you get cookies, you get money. You don't have to buy a pack. You don't have to buy into anything. You don't have to start a business or any of that. None of that.
So you're saying there's no auto ships?
No.
And no left leg, right leg stuff?
None of the icky and yucky stuff. It's just pure consumerism in a really cool community of people that like to be happy and healthy. And if you share that, and people like to buy products because they use them, and guess what? Here's what's important: outcomes. Because if the stuff works, you're going to use it. And if it works, your friends are going to ask you what you're doing. Not you telling them, because we saw there are things that happen with people that their friends go, okay, you're different. Or they start going, look at my stomach, look at my legs, all the stuff that I've been dealing with is gone. Or, you know what, you've seen my kid, and my kid is now completely different. And they go, what are you doing? That it's not... because when we find stuff that we like, and we find stuff that helps us, and we find stuff that can help others, it's in our nature to share. That's what we do. Not sell, to share.
Yeah.
And if you share, here's where many businesses, are not taking advantage of our social markets now, right? It's what we do. It's what Instagram's really great at. It's what made Amazon. Amazon started selling books online out of Jeff Bezos's garage. And then they had a community of people that were buying books that just continued to grow. And that community grew because the people that were there were telling their friends, site, create a free account, you can get books. And then they started selling other stuff. And now they sell darn near everything. But there's one guy that's made most of the money on it.
Yeah.
Right? But what if you took that philosophy and you said, you know what, let's put a bunch of money back into the people that created the value for the community.
Yeah, you guys are
Yes, I love that idea. I think that's great. Yeah.
You guys are disrupting the industry. It's like what Airbnb and Uber have done.
Exactly. And it's just a changing concept of social consumerism, because we are not at a point now where one person or a small group of people say, we created this and we deserve all of the rewards from it. No, we should distribute it properly. If we can help society, we can help build a stronger community. But if we take a bunch of the money and we put it back, I mean, what do we hear about, in politics? We have to invest in the community. People need to invest in their communities. Okay. We put our money where the mouth is. We're not going to talk. It's like, look, I'll take 50% of the revenue that comes in. We're going to put it into the money that we're going to put that money into the people that create the value. That's what we're doing. So we get to focus on making people happy and healthy and doing all this amazing stuff. But at the same time, those people that just say, you know what, I love this mission. I love these products. I'm going to tell some friends about it. They might not have to pay for their products because they can get stuff for free. They might be able to make a house payment. They might make a car payment. They might be able to buy more food or go out on a Friday night. So be it. Just because they're happy and healthy and talking to them. And we're doing it all over the world. 50 countries already.
Oh, that's brilliant. When did you launch?
February. So here's the fun part with the numerology, right? You can look at the cards on this. 02/02/2020.
Oh, I love that.
There was strategery in that.
Yeah.
It's an 8. So
yes.
So yeah,
it's perfect.
Yeah.
No, all I did then was I just literally just opened up the card deck, well, my tarot deck, and that was the first one there. That's when you started the journey.
Yep.
Yeah. Fantastic.
That's funny.
So we have people here that are sad. This can be their cells. You see there, we've kind of knocked those cups over. And look what I've got there. The Hermit. That was the first one that we had.
We're back.
We started recording. So all very good.
Hey, it's this is the fun part. It's all in the cards.
Yeah, it really is. Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much. It was lovely to talk to you both.
Well, have a happy Friday because it's a Friday night for you guys.
Yeah, it is.
See what we do. So we'll do this again.
Thank you. I hope so. Yeah.
Keep us apprised. I want to see how your experiences are.
Yes. Yes. Mine's coming in the post. When is it today or?
No. It takes about to the UK. It takes about a week.
Okay, that's fab.
We allow a week and a half. So yeah.
I love that as I've been here, the sun has broken through, and it's right on my head. Where is the pineal gland, by the way? Where is it exactly?
It's at the base of the brain, on the body side of the blood-brain barrier.
Okay, so like where this light is shining, would it be around there?
Right in there.
Literally, I mean. Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. And it's just lovely to have the sun there. Brilliant. Oh, thank you so much. You're welcome.
Nicola. Thank you.
And this also feels like really ethical to me because there is a way for people to kind of build a business around this and make some money for themselves, right? But it just feels ethical to me.
Yeah, it's important of the business term. It's one thing I wanted to eliminate, right? Because you hear that term thrown around. It's, you should start a new business, a home-based business. I own a bunch of businesses. I run a bunch of businesses, and they're not easy. They're expensive.
Yeah.
They're stressful.
Yeah.
People don't want that. There's a negative thought process. I don't want to be a business. Most people aren't made to be business owners. It's not their personality type. But you know what we're made to do? Because we're taught in kindergarten? Show and tell. We're good at that. And if all you do is that, and you get rewarded for that, my kids are doing this. My teenagers are doing this well. So that's the fun part because they're seeing their benefits and their results, and their friends are going, hey, I want some of that stuff too. And that's what makes this really special and really unique is it's like you said, you don't feel dirty, you feel good because if you share with your friends, they're gonna have the same experiences that Sandy's had. And do you think Claire feels bad about calling and saying, hey, you should try this stuff? No, because phone call, that connection has done some stuff for him, his dad, a lot of people around London and the greater UK, other parts of the world, now Ireland, and you watch how that goes. And when you look at it from a humanitarian perspective, and we look at how energy is transferred, right? This is what I'm going to leave this with. At the end of the day, when we leave this skin suit, wherever we get to go, right? And if you get to have conversations with other parties or other beings or someone that's waiting for us to come visit later on, you go, okay, what did you do while you were there in that skin suit? You can say, I got that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. I called that one, and that one led to this and this and this and this and this. And, you know, there was this mom with that autistic kid, and this was really cool. And I got this one, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We don't get to leave with the money. We don't get to leave with anything. What we leave is the people that we touched when we were here. What impact did we leave on our environment? What impact did we leave on society? That's what we leave.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
Yeah.
So guys, if you want to get your clean slate, click on the link below.
And your zero in.
And
Don't
zero
forget
in.
the zero in. Don't forget it. So,
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank
welcome.
you.
Been a pleasure. God bless.
Here's all.
Bye.